Yeah. Notice that it doesn't negate the possibility that failure might happen. And that's okay, because you now, by just calling it out and just acknowledging it, you can keep it close by. Part of the understanding of discovering what's really holding me back from implementing what I am saying that I'm going to implement, right, is just being able to vocalize it and process it and sit with it, so that it doesn't magically disappear. It literally just gives you a freedom to start processing what else is possible, and to start thinking about, wow, the lives that you'll be able to impact, the stories that will be told from what you're doing, the small steps, even the big steps, the headaches that you could be facing, like the new headaches. If you have so many people wanting to do this, that's a good problem to have. There's an excitement that every business owner has whenever we start thinking about, wow, if it does work, I might have to improve my business. I might have to hire somebody. I might have to do something that's whenever I think about growing a business, is exciting, maybe scary, but it's still really exciting, right? When we think about marriage and our relationships, the same thing happens. We start thinking about what's possible and the upside and the new possibilities. There's deeper intimacy, there's deeper connection, there's deeper understanding that wasn't there before. Because even though we haven't arrived, which we never will, our mindset is changing so that we can actually do the steps that are needed to get the results that our hearts are longing for, that I believe that we're created for. But it has to start with, am I willing to look at and evaluate and be with recurrent reality of, why am I not doing this? Why am I breaking my promise to myself? Because notice how whenever you start thinking what's possible, you start building levels of trust with yourself. You start thinking, what I can do. And by building that trust, I see things through. I start being a person of my word, which then leads to results, both good and bad. But they're true to your word. They're true to what you're aiming for and who you're committed to becoming and growing into. So if you don't have vision, it's going to hurt. And if you aren't willing to even evaluate why, which you do have vision here, you know why this is important to you, but connecting with reality, if we're not connecting with reality of why am I not doing this, then we're living a fantasy. And it's no surprise that we're not implementing certain actions or fulfillments of our promises to ourselves, right? And if we're distracting ourselves, if we're downplaying ourselves or judging ourselves, then that's exactly, but we're not going to have what we want. The other thing that's really important to even keep in mind is what I want true? Do I really want it? That might be a fair question to ask. Do I want this? Do I want this money? Do I want this person in my life? Do I care about this thing? And it's okay to say no. In fact, sometimes whenever things aren't working, it's really an opportunity to evaluate and go, do I want this? And a lot of us are afraid to say that because we might hurt somebody, which we might. We might lose money, which we might. We may sound like an idiot, which we might. But it also could be the best thing for ourselves and for those that are involved, or even getting things away from us that need to get out of the way so that we can focus on what our true calling is, or our true vision is of ourselves. And which there's a freedom, and it's almost like a purifying process. Is whenever I don't do what I say I'm going to do, did I really want it, or was I trying to maybe please somebody? Was I feeling pressure? Was I operating from a scarcity mindset as opposed to an abundance mindset? It's a fair question, right? And for you, it's very evident that that's not the case. But I think one thing that a lot of people can relate to is do I want this? And if I didn't, why did I say yes? Because there's an opportunity to grow to avoid that happening again. Because if you just say, I don't want to, you're right, Joe, I don't want to do this. It's actually not what I care about. And you don't connect with reality as to what do the breadcrumbs look like that led me to this being the best possible choice, then I'm going to throw it back in and I'm going to do it again. Because I haven't really discovered what I've been up to. This is why divorces are so repetitive. Because generally, it happens, and instead of understanding kind of the breadcrumbs that led to the divorce, which the divorce happened before the divorce actually happened, right? And emotionally, physically, spiritually took place? Am I willing to look at some of the lead ups to those moments so that I can transform the way I show up in a new relationship, which is a new person starting with me, so that we cannot it's not that we will never have certain similar experiences, because I'm still human and I'll probably pull from my bag of tricks, right? But the awareness and the transformation and growth that has happened in those previous points of past places of pain have been reconciled or grown, so that I can actually experience a new relationship, right? So that's absolutely fair. There's also another idea that whenever we say we want to do something, and I don't ever want to justify anybody from cutting bait just because it's the easiest option, right? I think there's a temptation in a very in our culture that, if it doesn't feel good, don't do it. And it's like, well, that might be there. There's definitely instances for that to be true, no doubt. And yet, are we using that as an excuse to not push and live into vision and live into commitment with ourselves, right? Whenever we don't do what we say we're going to do and evaluate and say like, oh, maybe I don't want to do it, so I shouldn't do it. Am I jumping the gun? Or am I almost at that point in the relationship where I'm about to summit and I'm like almost to the top, I just don't know it, and we quit just before we're at the top of the hill? We're about to summit, we're about to see the beautiful view, we're about to make the breakthrough in the relationship, the breakthrough in the business, and yet we didn't really give ourselves that opportunity because we were just tired, or we justified our lack of excitement, right? That comes with everything in life at one point or another, and we miss out on it. The beauty, the possibilities, the growth, right? I know even in my own life, everything that has been worthwhile has come from that like little segment of the mountain of I'm about to get there, but it's also the hardest part because it's also the steepest part, and I'm already so damn tired, right? Because I've done all these other things leading up to it, right? You've done all the work, you've laid the foundation, and to say maybe I don't want to do it, you might have there's other ways to avoid that from happening, like setting timetables or getting feedback more regularly to see like what's really going on from other people, outside sources, even yourself, right? Just to kind of like really be in tune with reality, and also encourage you to keep on going if that is the case. So practically, what was the whole point of this? One, what can you do from this conversation? If you know in your life that there's something that needs done and you're not doing it, big or small, it doesn't matter. In fact, I would actually probably start with the small things. Like if you say you're going to wake up and hit the gym at 6 o'clock in the morning, or you say you're going to have that conversation, like just acknowledge what you're not doing that you say you're supposed to be doing. Two, understand why there are some benefits that you're getting. So what are you getting out of not doing it? What are the consequences if you don't do it, right? And there are both. The other is, what am I telling myself? What am I telling myself about who I am? Like, what is the judgment about myself here that I'm claiming to be true about me, right? And being able to add, because what you're doing is you're capturing current reality, understanding yourself. And whenever you understand yourself, then you get to see what's possible, because then you can ask the question, well, what else is true? What else could be available to me, or who I am, right, to the situation? If I didn't feel this way, then what? The then what leads to the new actions. You may still have the same outcomes that you're craving, but allowing yourself to implement new action steps that are very practical and realistic, so that you're starting to build trust with yourself. So by capturing current reality, you're able to make adjustments because now you've captured reality, what's wanted, what's needed to do what you say you're going to do. In that process, start small, build the trust, have the conversations, doing the things that you say you're going to do.